I didn't hate it. I'm so shocked that I didn't hate it. I'm Lizzie with Pass the Popcorn, and I just finished watching the ever controversial live action Snow White adaptation that Disney released this year. And I have to say, my review is not as controversial as I thought it would be. So let's dive in and see why this movie had such mixed reviews and why it was so controversial. Also, I decided to sit on the floor for this review today. Not sure why, just kind of felt like doing it. So welcome to my office floor. All right. The live action Snow White was just added to Disney Plus. I did not spend my hard-earned money to go see it in the theater because it was getting such controversial reviews, and I had only heard pretty terrible things about it. Well, it just came to Disney Plus, like a week or two ago? So I just finished watching it, and I have to say, I did not hate it as much as I thought I would. And I'm very surprised by that. Like, no one is more surprised by that than me. As I was watching the movie, I was giving my husband commentary as I was sitting there watching it. And really where I felt like the whole movie got totally derailed was in the production design and the casting. And if those two things would have been different, I actually think this movie would have been a home run for Disney. So let's deep dive into what I mean by that. I don't even know where to start. They just had the right formula for this movie. And so I'm so shocked that it failed, but also not shocked that it failed because there's a lot of decisions they made early on in production that really derailed this movie very quickly. The opening of the movie is so iconic and very sweet. You open with the Bejeweled book and it comes into the movie. You start with her childhood, you meet her parents. She has an I Want song that I thought was amazing. And the queen even has a little bit of a backstory. You kind of see how she comes in and dupes the dad into loving her. But they kept the queen evil. You didn't feel for her. I love that she was just the evil queen. And really the movie followed a lot of the plot points from the animated. I mean, the huntsman takes her into the woods to kill her. Can I say that on YouTube? To get rid of her. And then she comes into the forest, she meets all the creatures, which I gotta say, the creatures were adorable. The little woodland animals were incredibly cute. I can't believe they were that cute in live action because they're obviously CGI, but Disney did a very good job with that. So, but she meets all the little woodland creatures, she meets the dwarves, all the plot points were very similar. There's no reason this movie should have failed. I'm so shook right now. And I felt like the storyline was super sweet and cute. I really felt like they were trying to follow the formula of Cinderella and some of their other more successful live actions because they set up this message for Snow White in the beginning, which is fearless, fair, brave, and true, which is very similar to have courage and be kind. So they're trying to set up this message that is going to string through the movie and kind of be Snow White's mantra and her hero's journey, so to speak. But it's inscribed on this locket that her parents give her, and it inspires her throughout the whole movie. And I thought that was great. I loved that message, fearless, fair, brave, and true. I was like, they can't go wrong with this. What is happening, you know? I love that she meets her love interest earlier on, again, following the same formula as Cinderella, of Cinderella meeting Kit in the forest. Snow White meets Jonathan, what is he? The rebel leader? She meets Jonathan early on in the movie and has a little moment. She rescues him from being killed by the queen, and obviously they fall in love through the movie. They also had so many good things going for them. They got Benj Pasek and Justin Paul to write the songs for this movie. It was a musical, so there was a lot of added songs, which I thought were incredible. I loved this music. I thought it was really good. I loved the opening song, Where the Good Things Grow. And I loved her I Want song, Waiting on a Wish. I thought the song that her and Jonathan sing, Princess Problems, when he first started singing it, I was like, how did this song not get incredibly canceled? But then I was like, oh, they're trying to set up exposition of he is accusing her of living in the palace and having this idyllic life. And they're trying to set up his exposition of he's very cynical and doesn't have hope for things anymore. So anyway, so then I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. And I didn't hate that song as much as I thought I would. Their song, their duet where they fall in love was super cute. However, I will say, when Gal Gadot started singing, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh, she sings. Oh no. That wasn't great. It just wasn't the best. So, but I did like that they gave the evil queen a song. And then the evil queen asking the mayor about the fairest of them all, he says no, Snow White's still alive. She poisons the apple, turns old, goes to find Snow White in the forest. And I thought the setup of the way she tricked Snow White into taking a bite of the apple was brilliant. Like, I thought that was really good writing. So it had so much going. Why did this movie fail? Actually, I know why this movie failed. We're gonna get to that. Right now I'm talking about all the positives, and then I will talk about why this movie failed so bad in a second, because there is a very large glaring reason. And then I actually liked, she takes a bite of the apple, she still falls asleep. And Jonathan comes, she still gets true love's kiss. And I loved that. And I actually loved that they added the nod of not just letting her give up on her kingdom, of her kind of following her, that mantra that her parents gave her, and going back to her kingdom and reclaiming it from the queen. And I really liked the way that they did that. The one thing I will say is they couldn't decide if kindness was a part of the motto. And I felt like they were trying to like stay away from that word kindness, because that is Cinderella's motto. So there were some moments where I was like, oh, is kindness a part of that? Or obviously you want her to be kind because she needs to be likable. But it just felt like they were trying to like lean heavily into that, and they'd be like, oh, wait, sorry, nope, that's not what we're trying to do. So that was kind of funny. But I just liked that she didn't abandon her kingdom, went back, reclaimed it. I also liked that she fell in love with someone from her kingdom. Kind of an Aladdin formula there, with Jasmine falling in love with Aladdin, Snow White falls in love with someone from her kingdom. So I really liked that added thing. I also feel like it just made it a little more streamlined. I feel like the whole kingdom to kingdom love story has been done, where it's like the prince needs to marry for advantage, or the princess or the kingdom is failing, so they need to marry someone from another kingdom to help theirs, right? Like that formula has been done. So I liked that they changed that. So overall, like the storyline, the writing, the songs, and how they moved the story along was great. I thought it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. And I'm actually so sad about like why it failed, because it really had the makings of a great live action movie. So why did it fail? 2 reasons, in my opinion. Number one, largest glaring issue, casting. Number 2 is costumes and production design. I will get into that in a second. Let's start with casting. This is so sad. Okay, the 3 main characters. Nope, I'm gonna say 4. The 4 main characters, Snow White, Evil Queen, Jonathan's character, and the 7 dwarves. All 4 of those castings I thought were not well casted. They are the 4 characters that carry the movie. So Gal Gadot as the Evil Queen. Yes, Gal Gadot is beautiful. I actually am a huge fan of Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman. I think that was like her first standout role, and I loved that movie so much. That was one of my favorite movies for a long time, and then some other things have come out that kind of trumped it for me. But I really was a fan of Gal Gadot. She's also beautiful, so I thought she was a good pick in beauty-wise for the Evil Queen. However, if you are going to have her sing, Gal Gadot is not a singer, and you could tell. I just don't think she was the right pick. Second, Snow White, Rachel Zegler. This is so sad that she wasn't good, because she has the voice for this character and the songs that they wrote for this character. It's actually like really sad that she didn't do a great job. And the only reason I think as society we did not accept her as this character was because of the interviews she did before this movie leading up to this film. It honestly, just like all I could think of while watching it were those interviews and the things that she had said about this character. And it just made me dislike her so much, and it's so sad because the fearless, fair, brave, and true message I thought was so good, and I just felt like because I knew what Rachel had said before the movie, I couldn't believe that that message was like who she was. Specifically, I remember the interview of her saying she's not getting rescued by the prince, and people freaked out about her saying this. And I wish she would have phrased it a little differently, because Snow White still has a love interest in this film and she still gets true love's kiss. The only difference was he wasn't a prince from another kingdom, but she still falls in love, and I feel like she's very feminine in the movie, and their love story was super cute. So if she would have phrased that interview differently, I feel like the perception and the acceptance of this movie would have been strikingly different. The other thing is, while this movie was in production and she had already been cast for the film, the SAG-AFTRA strike started going on. And I do remember seeing the video of her being interviewed talking about how if she has to parade around in a dress on set, an uncomfortable dress on set, then she should be paid for every stream on streaming service, right? That really rubbed people the wrong way and kind of made her sound a little bit entitled, not very grateful for the role. Kind of felt like it gave off the persona that she thought she was doing a favor by fulfilling this role instead of being grateful for the role. So I just think if her PR would have been a lot better before this movie came out, she would have been widely accepted and I think praised for this role. However, because we had known what she had said before the film, and then obviously the movie came out, I just feel like it affected it a lot. I know a lot of people were upset too that she didn't have the iconic like fair skin, dark hair that Snow White is always described as. They did kind of write that off in the movie by saying she arrived, like her mom gave birth to her on a night in a snowstorm, so that's why they called her Snow White, to kind of get around that. I didn't mind that she didn't have that iconic look. I thought she was still like beautiful in the role. But who I do wish they would have cast, and I think would have gave this movie just a very different PR journey, would be Sophia Carson. I think Sophia Carson would have slayed as Snow White. Like, this movie would have been a 10 out of 10 had the whole casting be different. But specifically Snow White, I think Sophia Carson, she is perfect. It also would have been a very sweet nod to her original role in Descendants, where she plays the evil queen's daughter. And seeing her come into the role of Snow White in the live action, I just thought would have been chef's kiss. I honestly don't even know who I think could do it other than her. Like, she is my top pick for this princess. All right, third was Jonathan. Now, I don't know who Jonathan is. Wait, let's Google. What is this man's name? Andrew Burnap. I've never seen anything he's ever been in. Anyways, this Andrew Burnap guy, he was not terrible. He just wasn't like swoon worthy, in my opinion. And I don't know, I just didn't love him. He wasn't as charming as I would have loved. I thought towards the end of the movie, him describing Snow White and kind of his love for her, he became a lot more charming. But he wasn't someone you looked at and immediately went, oh, mouth on the floor, drooling, you know? So he just would not have been my first pick for this role. And the fourth and final casting flaw in the live action Snow White, which honestly, this may be the biggest one. This may be the biggest issue with this film. Were the dwarves. Why? Why were the dwarves CGI? Like, I did not understand. So they chose to make the dwarves CGI, cutting out an entire demographic entirely, and it made a lot of people really upset. And honestly, watching it, there's a lot of CGI already used in the film, so making the dwarves CGI just felt like another additional CGI expense in the film, honestly. I also didn't understand like why their hands were magical, and I was trying to listen to the lyrics of the song and I couldn't pick up on it. Like, their hands could touch the diamonds in the mining caves and like they would glow. So I was like, are the dwarves supposed to be magical? And then I know they have the line where they're like 250 years old. They say they're as old as the trees, right? So I was like, okay, if they're trying to go for this magical element, I can see why they tried to make it CGI. However, the CGI was just so bad. So bad. And I just think real actors playing the dwarves would have been a lot better. So that was a huge bummer to me, is the dwarves. So anyways, I think if those 4 roles would have been cast out differently and the whole PR journey of this movie would have been different, I think it would have blown audiences out of the water. All right, the second largest glaring issue with this movie, production design. The production design was very interesting for this movie, and that goes into a lot of things. So the whole CGI, choosing to make the dwarves CGI, that was a very interesting choice by production. Honestly, my biggest flaw with the production design was actually like the costuming and the hair and makeup. It was so bad. Like, it made it so not enjoyable to watch. And my girl, Sandy Powell, did the costume for this movie, and I am so sad that I have to sit here and say I didn't like the costumes, because Sandy Powell also did Cinderella, and she gave us the iconic blue dress. And every other costume in that movie is like chef's kiss phenomenal. So why was this one so different? I just feel like they had an opportunity to make Snow White our favorite princess, and they did not seize that opportunity. Because let's be real, Snow White, the animated one, I don't think is anyone's like favorite princess. Like, I personally have never talked to someone, and I ask people this question a lot: who's your favorite Disney princess? I have never heard someone say, my favorite Disney princess is Snow White. So they really had an opportunity here to make Snow White our favorite princess, to put her on the map, to bring her back into little girls' hearts everywhere. And they just failed. Like, whoever chose to make her hair look like Lord Farquaad, that was, wow, what a choice. What a choice. I feel like it would have been so much cuter if she would have had kind of like a blunt bob, chin length, like a little bit longer than chin length, like here, and done like curls that didn't swoop in under her chin, and like just kind of a blunt bob, make it a little bit more modern. Man, it would have been so cute. Like, so cute. I didn't mind the dress. However, it was a little like on the nose to her animated dress. And I feel like they could have interpreted it a little bit more, you know? I like the puff sleeves with the cutouts. I liked the corset in the front. But can we get rid of the collar? Can we get rid of the white collar, please? Like, I hate that fashion choice. So anyways, I just feel like they had an opportunity to really modernize Snow White. Now, don't hear me wrong when I say that, because I still like that it was like a fairy tale, and I honestly don't know what time period this is supposed to be set in or where. Did they ever establish that? I don't think so. So don't mishear me that I wanted this to be like this modern interpretation with a bunch of modern stuff in it. I just feel like her voice, matched with kind of the musical theater songs, could have had a little bit more modern dress and hairstyle. Yeah. I was just bummed that like it wasn't like she didn't look prettier. She didn't look cuter. Like, did anyone like that hairstyle? If you liked the hairstyle and the dress from Snow White, please let me know in the comments. I'm just very curious to know. Like, did anyone like it? Did anyone on set like it? Who approved this? I'm being so critical right now. But I just feel like they had an opportunity to blow us away the way they did with Jasmine in the live action Aladdin and the way they did with Cinderella, and they just didn't seize that opportunity, and that made me really sad because I do feel like costuming is a huge thing to me. I love movie costumes. I could sit and stare at them all day. I just am a huge fan of costumes. Honestly, some of my favorite movies are my favorite because of the costuming. So I was just very disappointed that the costumes weren't better in this movie. I also thought the Evil Queen's costumes were hit or miss. The coloring I thought was very pretty throughout the whole film. I loved the vibrancy of everything in this film, including the Evil Queen's costumes. However, there's one costume she wears during her song where the cape of it was this sequin chevron. And I literally turned to my husband and said, what in the 2010 is that? The chevron, why? Like, I just didn't understand that. I also feel like we could have modernized the Evil Queen a little bit. Like, did she have to have the ski mask thing, you know? I don't know. I personally would not feel beautiful in a ski mask, but maybe that's her shtick because she's so confident and believes she's so beautiful she only has to show her face. I don't know. Just like that element of the production design and the choices made was very interesting to me. So had those two things, casting and costuming, been completely different, I think this movie would have been a home run. The music I thought was incredible, and you had great writers for the music. The writing was incredible. I love the storyline. They tried to follow the formula of the Disney live action successes that had come before it. The cute woodland creatures and some of the CGI was great and a great choice. She still had a love interest and she still fell in love, and there was just a lot going for this movie, and it's really sad that it failed as much as it did. While I was editing this video, I realized I never did an overall rating. So the overall rating I would rate the live action Snow White is about a 5.5 out of 10. Okay, back to the video. I can't ignore the writing. Like, I really enjoyed the storyline, and I want to give credit to that. I just think if the whole cast was different, it would be a completely different movie. Will I watch it again? I don't know. Maybe in the far future when I forget Rachel Zegler's interviews a little bit. Honestly, it's so sad that like her PR was so bad. And I know she's being really hated, and I don't want to like contribute to that hate because I don't think she's a terrible person. I just think some of the things she said came off wrong and not the way she intended, and it just rubbed everybody the wrong way, you know? So maybe in the far future I will rewatch it. I did not think it was terrible. I do not think it was the worst live action Disney's ever done. Hot take. What is the worst live action Disney's ever done? Well, I have a ranking video coming out where we are going to rank all of the Disney live action adaptations from best to worst and talk about each one and why they were or were not a success. So stay tuned for that video where we will deep dive into what I think the worst Disney live action is. Well, tell me in the comments below, do you agree with my review? Was Snow White the worst Disney live action that's ever been done? Did you like anything about the film, or was it just a total fail for you? I'm very interested to know. So let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, you liked this review, go ahead and watch some of my other videos. I have some other reviews on some movies and a lot more coming. So please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel so you can see all of our future videos coming out. I have a lot of really good things planned, so you're not going to want to miss it. You can also follow us on Instagram at PassThePopcornLizzie, where you will get sneak peeks of videos coming out. You can vote on future video topics, and you will know when all of our videos are posted. So thank you for joining me on this crazy chaotic adventure of reviewing the live action Snow White. And until next time, stay buttery and pass the popcorn.